The train from Paris to Pont-Orson took us through the heart of Normandy, and with each passing kilometer, I felt the weight of that apartment and its dark history lifting from my shoulders. Mariana sat beside me, her head resting against the window, watching the French countryside transform from urban sprawl to rolling green fields dotted with apple orchards and medieval villages. We hadn't talked much since leaving Paris. What was there to say? We'd spent 3 days in an apartment where a man had murdered his wife and then himself, sleeping in rooms where violence had occurred, all while the owner profited from erasing the tragedy. It left a bad taste in both our mouths. But as the train carried us west toward the coast, toward Mont Saint-Michel, I felt something shift. We were leaving the darkness behind. We were choosing to move forward together. Mariana turned from the window and caught me looking at her. She smiled, that small, knowing smile that made my heart skip. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How glad I am that you showed up at my door at midnight," I said honestly, even though it led to us staying in a murder apartment. She laughed, and the sound was like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Only us, right? Most couples get the romantic Paris experience. We get death and tragedy. We're not most couples," I said, and then immediately wondered if I'd gone too far. Were we a couple? We hadn't defined what this was. We'd been together for days now, but we hadn't even kissed yet. But Mariana just smiled wider. "No, we're definitely not most couples." The train arrived in Pont-Orson just after 3 in the afternoon. From there, we caught a local bus that took us directly to Mont Saint-Michel. The first glimpse of it took my breath away. Rising from the sea like something out of a fairy tale was a rocky island topped by a Gothic abbey, its spire reaching toward the sky. Medieval walls and buildings clung to the sides of the rock, creating a pyramid of stone and history that seemed to defy gravity. The causeway connecting the island to the mainland stretched across sand and mudflats, and even from a distance, you could see the power of this place. "It's incredible," Mariana breathed, pressing her face to the bus window. "It really is. Mont Saint-Michel has been a pilgrimage site for over 1,000 years. The abbey at its peak was built starting in the 8th century, added to and modified over the centuries by monks who lived in almost complete isolation from the world, surrounded by one of the most dramatic tidal variations in Europe. During high tide, the island is completely cut off from the mainland. During low tide, you can walk across the sand, though that's dangerous for those who don't know what they're doing. We found a small inn just outside the main tourist area, a family-run place with creaky stairs and rooms that smelled like lavender and old wood. Our room had a window that looked directly at the abbey, now glowing golden in the afternoon sun. "I could stare at that view forever," Mariana said, standing at the window. "It does make you forget about murder apartments," I agreed. She turned to me. "Can we make a pact? For the rest of this trip, let's try to avoid any places where terrible things happened. Just nice, normal, non-haunted locations." "Deal," I said, extending my hand. She shook it, and the touch of her skin against mine sent electricity up my arm. We held on a moment longer than necessary, our eyes meeting, and I saw something in her gaze that made my breath catch. But she released my hand and turned back to the window. "So what should we do first?" We spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the village at the base of Mont Saint-Michel. The main street is impossibly narrow, lined with tourist shops selling everything from postcards to expensive jewelry, restaurants offering overpriced crepes and seafood, and medieval-themed attractions. It's touristy, yes, but there's something charming about it too, like stepping into a theme park version of the Middle Ages. We ate galettes, savory buckwheat crepes, at a small restaurant with a view of the bay, and shared a bottle of cider, the local hard cider that Normandy is famous for. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the abbey glowed like it was lit from within. "This is perfect," Mariana said softly. "This moment, this place, it's perfect." I reached across the table and took her hand. I was thinking the same thing. We walked back to the inn as darkness fell, the abbey now illuminated by spotlights that made it look even more magical and otherworldly. Mariana shivered in the cool evening air, and I put my arm around her. She leaned into me, and we walked like that in comfortable silence. That night, we lay in our separate beds. She'd insisted on a room with 2 singles rather than 1 double, saying we should take things slow, and talked in the darkness until we both fell asleep mid-conversation. The next morning dawned clear and bright. We had tickets for the Abbey tour at 10, so we grabbed breakfast at a cafe and joined the stream of tourists making the climb up the steep streets and staircases that wound up the side of the rock. The Abbey is a marvel of medieval architecture. Rooms carved into the rock itself, soaring Gothic halls, cloisters open to the sky, narrow passages that wind through multiple levels. Our guide spoke in rapid French that Mariana translated for me, explaining the history of the Benedictine monks who'd lived here for centuries, the challenges of building on such a precarious location, the legends and miracles associated with the place. As we moved through the abbey, I noticed an elderly monk, one of the few who still live and work here, watching us from a shadowed corner. He was small and bent with age, wearing the traditional black robes, his face deeply lined but his eyes sharp and clear. When the tour group moved on to the next room, he approached us. "Excusez-moi," he said, his English heavily accented. "You are travelers, yes? From far away?" "Yes," I said, surprised. "From America and Brazil." He nodded as if this confirmed something. "You must be careful here. This place, it is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. The sea, it has moods. The tides, they change quickly. Many travelers come here and do not respect the water. They walk on the sand. They think it is safe. But the tide here, it rises faster than a man can run." Mariana and I exchanged glances. "We'll be careful," she assured him. But the monk wasn't finished. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Every year, people disappear. They go out onto the sand when the tide is low. They lose track of time, and the water surrounds them. Sometimes we find them, sometimes we do not. The sea keeps what it takes." There was something in his tone, not just warning, but something deeper. Fear, maybe, or grief. "Has someone disappeared recently?" I asked. His eyes grew distant. "A young couple 3 months ago. They went out to watch the sunset. We found only her shoes the next morning. Both of them gone. The sea took them." A chill ran down my spine despite the warm morning sun. "Thank you for the warning," Mariana said gently. "We'll stay close to the island." The monk nodded and shuffled away, leaving us both unsettled. "That was creepy," Mariana said once he was out of earshot. "Very, but he's probably right to warn tourists. These tides are no joke." We finished the tour and spent the rest of the day exploring the abbey grounds and the village. As evening approached, Mariana said she wanted to rest at the inn. She'd been feeling tired, probably from all the traveling and the stress of the past few days. "You go ahead," she said. "Explore. Take some photos. I'll be fine here with a book." "Are you sure?" "Positive. Just don't disappear into the sea. Okay? I'd have to organize a rescue, and my French isn't that good." I laughed. "Promise. I'll be back before dark." I grabbed my camera and walked back toward Mont Saint-Michel. The tide was low, exposing vast expanses of sand and mudflats around the island. The sun was beginning its descent toward the horizon, painting everything in golden light. I walked along the causeway and then, seeing paths that led out onto the exposed sand, I made a decision that would almost cost me my life. I wanted to get some photographs of the abbey from different angles, to capture it surrounded by the texture of the tidal flats. So I ventured out onto the sand, following what looked like established paths made by other tourists. The sand was firm at first, easy to walk on. I moved further and further from the causeway, angling for better shots. The light was perfect, that magic hour photographers dream about. I took dozens of photos, moving around the bay, getting different perspectives. I lost track of time, lost track of distance, lost track of everything except the perfect composition through my lens. When I finally lowered my camera and looked around, I realized I'd walked much further than I'd intended. Mont Saint-Michel looked smaller, more distant. The causeway was far away, and worse, I could hear water. I turned and saw what made my blood run cold. The tide was coming in. Not slowly, but fast, impossibly fast. Where there had been dry sand just minutes ago, There was now shallow water, spreading like spilled liquid across the flats. The monk's words echoed in my mind. The tide here rises faster than a man can run. I started walking back toward the causeway, but I wasn't sure which direction was correct. The landscape had changed. Everything looked different, and the light was fading as the sun approached the horizon. I walked faster, then started jogging. The water was at my ankles now, then my shins. The sand beneath my feet was becoming softer, harder to move through. I pulled out my phone to check the map, but there was no signal. Of course there wasn't. I was in the middle of a tidal bay with water rising around me. The water reached my knees. I was running now, or trying to, but the water resistance made it difficult. My jeans were soaked and heavy, my shoes filled with water and sand. I tried to stay calm, to think logically. The island had to be in one direction. I just needed to keep moving toward it. But which direction? The sun was setting, creating confusing shadows. The mist was rolling in from the sea, reducing visibility. I called out for help, shouting as loud as I could, but the wind carried my voice away. There was no one else on the flats. Anyone with sense had retreated before the tide turned. The water was at my waist now, and I was starting to panic. Real, genuine panic. I'd read about people drowning in tidal bays, about how quickly it happens, how disorienting it is. The water doesn't just rise. It comes from all directions, cutting off escape routes, turning familiar terrain into a maze of channels and currents. I stumbled over something underwater, a rock or a piece of driftwood, and fell forward, going completely under. The water was shockingly cold. I came up sputtering, now completely soaked, shivering, my phone dead from the water. I couldn't see the island anymore through the mist. I couldn't see the causeway. I couldn't see anything except gray water and gray sky and the sun disappearing below the horizon. This was how I was going to die. Drowned in a tidal bay in Normandy because I'd been too stupid to pay attention to time and tide. Mariana would never know what happened. She'd wait for me at the inn, then start to worry, then alert someone, but by then it would be too late. The water was at my chest now. My feet were struggling to find solid ground. Everything below the surface was shifting, unstable. I was exhausted from fighting the current, from the cold, from the fear. I found a rock, a large one, protruding above the water, and grabbed onto it with both hands. I pulled myself partially onto it, my legs still in the water, and I clung there, shaking uncontrollably, unable to think about anything except staying above water. Time lost all meaning. It might have been 10 minutes or an hour. The cold was seeping into my bones, making my thoughts slow and foggy. I knew hypothermia was setting in, knew that even if I didn't drown, I could die from exposure. I thought about Chicago, about the life I'd left behind. I thought about my family, about whether they'd ever know what happened to me. I thought about Kevin, about Sophie, about all the people I'd met on this journey. But mostly I thought about Mariana, about how she'd quit her job and flown to Paris to be with me, about how we'd faced the darkness of that apartment together, about how we hadn't even kissed yet, and now we never would. I was drifting in and out of consciousness when I heard it, voices, shouting, then lights cutting through the mist, a boat engine. Help! I tried to yell, but my voice came out as barely a croak. I raised one arm and waved weakly. The boat turned toward me. Powerful searchlights swept across the water and found me. Within minutes, they were pulling me aboard. 3 men in rescue gear who spoke rapid French and wrapped me in metallic blankets and gave me something hot to drink from a thermos. One of them spoke some English. "Your girlfriend," he said. "She call police when you not return. She say you go to take photos. We search for 1 hour. You are lucky. 30 more minutes and..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. They brought me back to the causeway where an ambulance was waiting. And there was Mariana, her face pale with fear, tears streaming down her cheeks. When she saw me, she let out a sob and ran forward. The paramedics wanted to check me over, but Mariana pushed past them and threw her arms around me, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe, which was fine, because I was holding her just as tightly. "You idiot," she said, her voice muffled against my soaking wet shoulder. You complete idiot. I thought you were dead. I thought the sea had taken you like that monk said. I'm sorry, I managed through chattering teeth. I'm so sorry. I lost track of time. The paramedics said you were minutes from hypothermia. They said if I hadn't called when I did. She pulled back to look at me, her hands on my face. Don't you ever scare me like that again. Do you understand? Never. I understand. The paramedics insisted on taking me to the local clinic to be checked over. But after they'd confirmed I was cold but otherwise unharmed, they released me with instructions to rest and stay warm. Mariana and I walked back to the inn in silence. I was still wrapped in blankets the rescue team had given me, shuffling along like an invalid while she supported me with one arm around my waist. Back in our room, she ran a hot bath and made me sit in it for 20 minutes while she made tea. When I finally emerged, warm and in dry clothes, she had me sit on her bed while she wrapped another blanket around my shoulders. Tea, she commanded, handing me a mug. Drink. I obeyed. The hot liquid felt like life flowing back into my body. Mariana sat beside me, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her. We didn't speak for a long time. The shock of what had almost happened was still settling over both of us. I was so scared, she finally said, her voice small. When evening came and you weren't back, I knew something was wrong. You said you'd be back before dark. When it got dark and you still weren't there, I just knew. I ran to the tourist office and they called the rescue service. And then I had to wait while they searched, not knowing if you were alive or... Her voice broke. I set down my tea and pulled her into my arms. I'm here, I said softly. I'm okay. I'm sorry I scared you. She pulled back just enough to look at me, and I saw something fierce in her eyes. Peter, I need you to understand something. When I quit my job to come to Paris, when I showed up at your door crying, I wasn't being impulsive or dramatic. I was following something real, something important. These past few days with you have been the most alive I've felt in years. And today, when I thought I'd lost you, I realized that She stopped, seeming to struggle with the words. Realized what? I prompted gently. That I'm falling for you, really falling. And I don't know if it's too soon to say that, or if it makes me seem crazy, but I almost lost you today and I can't not say it. I'm falling for you, Peter Matthews from Chicago. My heart was pounding. Mariana Costa from Sao Paulo. I'm falling for you too. Have been since Portugal. Maybe even since the first moment I saw you in that cafe. We sat there, faces inches apart, and I could feel the magnetic pull between us. This would be the moment. This would be when we finally kissed. But Mariana placed a gentle hand on my chest, stopping me. Not yet, she whispered. Not like this. Not when you've just almost died. Not when we're both emotional and scared. When we kiss, and we will kiss, I want it to be perfect. I want it to be because we choose it with clear heads, not because we're reacting to trauma. She was right. I knew she was right. As much as I wanted to kiss her right then, she deserved better than an adrenaline-fueled moment after a near-death experience. Okay, I agreed. But soon, she promised, and the look in her eyes made it clear she wanted it as much as I did. That night, she insisted I sleep in her bed while she took mine. You need the better mattress after today, she argued, and I was too exhausted to protest much. But in the middle of the night, I woke to find her crawling into bed beside me. I couldn't sleep, she whispered. I kept imagining you out there in the water, and I needed to know you were okay. Is this all right? It's more than all right, I said, lifting the blanket so she could settle in beside me. We lay there in the darkness, her head on my chest, my arm around her shoulders, and I felt safer and more content than I had in years. Almost drowning had been terrifying, but it had also clarified something essential. Mariana mattered to me. Really mattered. Whatever this thing was between us, it was worth protecting, worth nurturing, worth the risk. Peter? Her voice came softly from the darkness. Yeah. Tomorrow, let's leave. Let's go somewhere beautiful where you can't almost die. I laughed softly. Where did you have in mind? Nice. The French Riviera. Beaches and sunshine and no deadly tides. That sounds perfect. We left Mont Saint-Michel the next morning on the first available bus. As we pulled away, I looked back at the abbey, still magnificent in the morning light, and thought about the monk's warning. He'd been right. The sea had tried to take me, but it hadn't succeeded. On the train from Pont-Orson to Nice, a long journey that would take most of the day, Mariana and I sat close together, watching the French countryside roll past. We held hands, and every so often, she would squeeze mine as if to remind herself that I was still there, still real, still alive. You know what the scariest part was? I said after we'd been traveling for an hour. When I was on that rock, freezing and alone, thinking I was going to die, the thing I regretted most was not kissing you. Not once. Not ever. She looked at me with those dark eyes that had captivated me from the first moment. Then we'll have to make sure that doesn't stay a regret, won't we? Is that a promise? That's a promise, Peter. Soon. Very soon. The train carried us south, toward the Mediterranean, toward sunshine and warmth and whatever came next. Mont Saint-Michel had tested us, had nearly taken me from this world and from Mariana, but we'd survived. We'd faced something terrifying together and come out the other side closer than before. I pulled out my notebook and wrote while Mariana dozed against my shoulder. Today I almost died. I was surrounded by cold water, unable to see land, convinced I was going to drown in a tidal bay because I was too stupid to pay attention to time and tide. In those moments when I thought death was certain, only one thing mattered. Not the life I'd left behind in Chicago, not the money or career or apartment, not even the adventure and freedom I'd found traveling through Europe. The only thing that mattered was Mariana, and how much I regretted not kissing her, not telling her what she means to me, not having more time with her. The rescue team pulled me out. Mariana had called for help when I didn't return. She saved my life by not giving up on me, by trusting her instincts that something was wrong. And in the aftermath, we both admitted what we'd been dancing around for days. We're falling for each other. Really, truly falling. We haven't kissed yet. Mariana wants to wait for the perfect moment, and I respect that. There's something beautiful about the anticipation, about the certainty that it will happen, about taking our time even though every cell in my body is screaming to pull her close and never let go. Mont Saint-Michel almost took me, but it also gave me clarity. Life is short. Love is rare. And when you find someone worth holding on to, you don't let fear or timing or uncertainty get in the way. You hold on. You fight for it. You choose it every single day. We're heading to Nice now, to the French Riviera, to sunshine and beaches and hopefully no more near-death experiences. And I have a feeling that somewhere on those Mediterranean shores, under the warm southern sun, Mariana and I will finally have our perfect moment. I can't wait.